The warmth of her breath against his ear sent a shiver down his spine as she whispered the 3 words that would alter the course of his life forever. "I know everything." In that moment, as her arms tightened around him, Marcus realized that sometimes the person you least expect becomes the one who saves you when you're drowning. If you've ever felt like life has backed you into a corner with no way out, this story might just give you the hope you've been searching for. If this resonates with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more stories that touch the heart and heal the soul. Marcus Sullivan stared at the eviction notice in his trembling hands, the bold red letters blurring as tears threatened to spill. 30 days. That's all he had left before he and his 7-year-old daughter Lily would be homeless. The apartment wasn't much, a cramped 2-bedroom on the outskirts of town with peeling wallpaper and a temperamental heating system, but it was theirs. Or at least it had been until his ex-wife Vanessa had stopped paying her portion of Lily's expenses 6 months ago, forcing him to dip into the rent money to cover medical bills when Lily's asthma had flared up badly last winter. He crumpled the notice and threw it across the room, immediately regretting the action when he heard the small gasp from the hallway. Lily stood there in her favorite unicorn pajamas, her brown eyes wide with concern, clutching the stuffed elephant he'd given her on her 5th birthday. The toy was worn thin in places, loved almost to pieces, just like his heart. "Is everything okay, Daddy?" she asked, her voice small and uncertain. Marcus forced a smile, crossing the room to kneel before her. "Everything's fine, sweetheart. Daddy's just a little tired from work." He smoothed her wild curls, so like her mother's, and kissed her forehead. "It's way past your bedtime, little bug. Let's get you tucked in." As he pulled the covers up to her chin and read her favorite story for the 100th time, his mind raced with desperate calculations. His job as a mechanic at Sullivan's Auto barely covered their basic needs. He'd already taken on extra shifts, working himself to exhaustion, but it wasn't enough. Not with Vanessa's sudden disappearance from their lives, leaving him to shoulder everything alone. The next morning, after dropping Lily at school, Marcus drove to Vanessa's workplace, Hartwell Industries, a sleek glass building that seemed to touch the clouds. He hadn't wanted to come here, to beg his ex-wife for the money she owed for their daughter's care, but desperation had a way of stripping a man of his pride. The receptionist eyed him suspiciously as he approached, taking in his worn jeans and the grease stain on his shirt that hadn't quite washed out. "I need to see Vanessa Sullivan," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "There's no Vanessa Sullivan employed here," the woman replied, not bothering to check her computer. "That's impossible. She's worked in accounting for 3 years." The receptionist's expression softened slightly. "Sir, the only Sullivan we have is Vanessa Mercer now. She got married last month." The news hit Marcus like a physical blow. Married? Vanessa had remarried without even telling him, without introducing this new man to their daughter? The betrayal stung, but it also explained her sudden absence from Lily's life. She was building a new family, one that apparently didn't include the child she'd left behind. "I need to see her," he insisted. "It's about our daughter." The receptionist was about to refuse when a commanding voice cut through the tension. "Is there a problem here, Diane?" Marcus turned to find himself face to face with a woman whose presence seemed to fill the entire lobby. She was tall, with sharp features softened by intelligent eyes that missed nothing. Her charcoal gray suit was impeccably tailored, and the way she carried herself spoke of authority and confidence. "Miss Hartwell," the receptionist stammered. "This gentleman is asking for Vanessa Mercer. Says it's about their daughter." Alexandra Hartwell, CEO of Hartwell Industries, studied Marcus with an intensity that made him want to straighten his posture. "And you are?" "Marcus Sullivan. Vanessa's ex-husband." Something flickered in Alexandra's eyes, recognition, perhaps, or calculation. "Come with me, Mr. Sullivan." Before he could protest, she was striding toward the elevators, clearly expecting him to follow. Marcus hesitated only briefly before hurrying after her, aware of the curious stares from the lobby staff. The elevator ride to the top floor was silent and tense. Alexandra stood with her back straight, eyes fixed on the climbing numbers, while Marcus tried to ignore the knot of anxiety in his stomach. This wasn't how he'd planned to confront Vanessa, with her boss as an audience. Alexandra's office was exactly what he'd expected, spacious, minimalist, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. She gestured for him to sit in one of the leather chairs facing her desk. "Vanessa Mercer is currently on her honeymoon," Alexandra said without preamble. "She won't be back for another week." Marcus clenched his fists. "Did you know she has a daughter? A 7-year-old who hasn't seen her mother in months?" Alexandra's expression remained neutral. "I was aware she has a child, yes. Though the details of her personal life are not my concern." "Well, they're about to become your concern," Marcus said, anger overriding his usual caution. "She hasn't paid a dime toward Lily's expenses in 6 months. I'm about to lose our apartment. My daughter could be homeless in 30 days, and her mother is off on a honeymoon with a man Lily has never even met." For the first time, Alexandra's composure cracked slightly. She leaned forward, her gaze sharpening. "Are you saying Vanessa has abandoned her financial responsibilities to her child?" "That's exactly what I'm saying. And I wouldn't be here if I had any other option, but I'm out of ideas and out of time." Alexandra was silent for a long moment, her fingers steepled under her chin. Then she reached for her phone. "Diane, cancel my meetings for the next hour. And have HR send me Vanessa Mercer's file immediately." The next 45 minutes were surreal. Alexandra questioned Marcus thoroughly about his situation, his custody arrangement with Vanessa, and Lily's needs. She took notes in a precise hand, occasionally asking him to clarify a point or provide a specific date. There was something almost clinical about her approach, as if she were analyzing a business problem rather than a family crisis. "Mr. Sullivan," she said finally, setting down her pen. "I find this situation troubling. Hartwell Industries prides itself on ethical conduct, both professionally and personally. What you're describing is not consistent with the values we expect from our employees." Marcus laughed bitterly. "With all due respect, Ms. Hartwell, corporate values aren't going to keep a roof over my daughter's head." "No," she agreed, surprising him. "But I might be able to help with that." Before Marcus could ask what she meant, Alexandra stood abruptly. "I'd like to continue this conversation, but not here. Are you free this evening?" The question caught him off guard. I have to pick up Lily from school at 3, and then I have a shift at the garage until 8. 8:30, then. I'll text you an address." She held out her hand for his phone, programming her number into it with efficient movements. "Don't be late, Mr. Sullivan. I don't offer second chances often." Marcus left Hartwell Industries in a daze, unsure of what had just happened or why the CEO of a major corporation was suddenly interested in his problems. But as he drove to pick up Lily, one thought kept circling in his mind. For the first time in months, he felt a flicker of hope. The address Alexandra sent him turned out to be a small, upscale restaurant tucked away on a quiet street. Marcus almost turned around when he saw it, acutely aware of his worn jeans and the faint smell of motor oil that seemed permanently embedded in his skin despite the quick shower he'd taken after his shift. But the thought of Lily's face when he'd tucked her in at Mrs. Gonzalez's apartment, their elderly neighbor who watched her when he worked late, steeled his resolve. He would endure any discomfort, any humiliation, if it meant keeping his daughter safe. Alexandra was already seated at a corner table when he arrived, her business attire exchanged for a simple black dress that somehow made her look both more approachable and more intimidating. She gestured for him to join her, a glass of red wine already in hand. "You're punctual," she noted as he sat down. "I appreciate that." Marcus shifted uncomfortably. "Look, Miss Hartwell." "Alexandra," she corrected. "We're not in my office now." "Alexandra," he amended. "I appreciate you taking the time to meet with me, but I'm not sure what this is about. If you're trying to protect Vanessa or the company's reputation." I'm not, she interrupted, her voice firm. In fact, after our conversation this morning, I had HR conduct a preliminary review of some of Vanessa's recent work. We've found discrepancies that concern me. Marcus frowned. What kind of discrepancies? Alexandra took a sip of her wine before answering. The kind that suggest she may have been misappropriating company funds. It's too early to make accusations, but combined with what you've told me about her abandonment of financial responsibility toward your daughter, it paints a troubling picture. The waiter approached, and Alexandra ordered for both of them with a confidence that left no room for argument. When they were alone again, she fixed Marcus with a penetrating gaze. Tell me about Lily, she said, the request so unexpected that Marcus found himself answering without hesitation. He told her about Lily's love of dinosaurs and space, how she could name all the planets and their moons, how she struggled with math but excelled at reading, already devouring books meant for children twice her age. He described her asthma attacks and how they'd gotten worse over the winter, requiring expensive medications that insurance only partially covered. He found himself sharing things he hadn't told anyone, his fear of failing her, the nights he lay awake wondering if he was enough, the guilt he felt for not being able to provide the stable, comfortable life she deserved. Alexandra listened without interruption, her expression softening almost imperceptibly as he spoke. When he finally fell silent, she reached across the table and did something that shocked him to his core. She placed her hand over his. Your daughter is lucky to have you, she said quietly. Many children don't have even one parent who would fight for them the way you're fighting for Lily. The simple validation, coming from this formidable woman who had no reason to care about his struggles, broke something open inside Marcus. He blinked rapidly, determined not to embarrass himself further by crying in a fancy restaurant. Alexandra withdrew her hand as their food arrived, and the conversation shifted to more practical matters. I have a proposition for you, Marcus, she said as they ate. Hartwell Industries owns several apartment buildings as part of our real estate portfolio. There's a 2-bedroom unit available in one of our better properties, not far from Lily's school. The rent is reasonable, and I can guarantee no increases for at least 2 years. Marcus stared at her, waiting for the catch. Why would you do that for me? You don't even know me. I know enough, she replied. And I believe in investing in good people. Consider it an advance on what Vanessa owes you. When she returns, I'll be having a very direct conversation with her about her responsibilities, both to Hartwell Industries and to her daughter. It seemed too good to be true, and in Marcus's experience, things that seemed too good to be true usually were. I don't want charity, he said stiffly. Alexandra's eyes flashed. This isn't charity, Mr. Sullivan. This is justice. And perhaps a bit of self-interest on my part. I don't like discovering that one of my executives may be both a thief and a neglectful parent. Helping you and Lily is the right thing to do, but it also gives me leverage when I confront Vanessa. Put that way, it was easier for Marcus to accept. They spent the rest of the dinner discussing logistics, when he could see the apartment, what paperwork would be needed, how soon they could move in. By the time Alexandra paid the bill, waving away his protests with a dismissive hand, Marcus felt as if he'd stepped into an alternate reality where powerful strangers swooped in to solve problems that had seemed insurmountable just hours before. Outside the restaurant, the night air was cool against his face. Alexandra stood beside him, suddenly seeming less sure of herself than she had all evening. There's one more thing, she said. I'd like to meet Lily. Not immediately, but soon. If that's acceptable to you. The request surprised him. Why? Alexandra hesitated, something vulnerable flickering across her features before her professional mask slipped back into place. Let's just say I have a personal interest in children who've been let down by the adults who should protect them. Before Marcus could respond, she stepped closer, close enough that he could smell her perfume, something subtle and expensive that made him think of hidden depths. Then, in a move that left him frozen in shock, she wrapped her arms around him in a brief, fierce hug. Her lips brushed his ear as she whispered, "I know everything, Marcus. About the second job you didn't mention. About the medical bills you've been hiding from everyone. About how you've been skipping meals so Lily can have enough. And I want you to know that it ends now. You're not alone anymore." She released him and stepped back, her expression once again composed and unreadable. "I'll have my assistant contact you tomorrow with the apartment details. Good night, Mr. Sullivan." As she walked away, Marcus stood rooted to the spot, her words echoing in his mind. "I know everything." How could she possibly know the things he'd kept hidden from everyone, even his closest friends? And more importantly, why did she care? The apartment Alexandra offered them was nothing short of miraculous, spacious and bright, with new appliances and a small balcony where Lily could grow the plants she'd always wanted. The rent was indeed reasonable, almost suspiciously so, but Marcus had stopped questioning his good fortune. The relief of knowing they wouldn't be homeless had lifted a weight from his shoulders that he hadn't realized was crushing him until it was gone. Lily fell in love with the place instantly, running from room to room with squeals of delight, already planning where her books would go and what color she wanted to paint her new bedroom. "Can we really stay here, Daddy?" she asked, her eyes wide with wonder. "Yes, little bug," he assured her, his heart full as he watched her excitement. "This is our new home." The move happened quickly, with unexpected help arriving in the form of a moving company Alexandra had arranged. Marcus tried to refuse, but the crew leader simply handed him a note in Alexandra's precise handwriting, "Consider this a housewarming gift. Some things shouldn't be faced alone." 2 weeks after they'd settled in, Alexandra texted him, "Vanessa returned today. Meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. Would still like to meet Lily when you're ready." Marcus stared at the message for a long time before replying, "Lily has a science fair at school this Saturday. She'd love to show you her project if you're interested." The response came almost immediately, "I'll be there." The confrontation with Vanessa must have been explosive, though Alexandra never shared the details with Marcus. What he did know was that 3 days after that meeting, a check arrived for the full amount of back child support Vanessa owed, along with a formal, notarized agreement for future payments that was far more generous than their original arrangement. When he tried to thank Alexandra, she brushed it off. "Vanessa made her choices," she said simply. "Now she's living with the consequences. The important thing is that Lily will be taken care of." The science fair was held in the school gymnasium, a chaotic affair with dozens of children proudly displaying projects ranging from baking soda volcanoes to complex experiments with plants and light. Lily's project, a detailed model of the solar system with facts about each planet recorded in her own voice when you pressed a button, had taken them weeks to complete, working together each night after dinner. Alexandra arrived exactly on time, looking somewhat out of place among the casually dressed parents in her tailored pants and silk blouse. But the moment she spotted Marcus and Lily, her professional demeanor softened into something warmer, more genuine. "You must be Lily," she said, kneeling down to the girl's level. "Your dad has told me so much about you." Lily, normally shy with strangers, beamed at her. "Are you Daddy's friend? He said his friend from work was coming to see my project." Alexandra glanced up at Marcus with a raised eyebrow, amusement dancing in her eyes. "Yes, I'm your dad's friend. My name is Alexandra. And I'm very excited to see your project." For the next hour, Alexandra gave Lily her complete attention, asking thoughtful questions about her.